Hello, fellas and ladies. It is officially Disney live-action remake time. Woohoo! I feel like these movies have been happening for, forever now. It just feels like it's been a part of the cinema landscape since, the beginning of time itself. Nobody seems to like them. Everyone seems to have an issue with them. You have to keep getting made, and they keep making money. The Jungle Book and The Little Mermaid are, solid, I suppose. I don't remember Cinderella, but I also don't remember disliking it, to be fair. But after that, it's just nosedive after nosedive. Alice in Wonderland sucks. Mulan is terrible. Pinocchio is, pretty much unanimously agreed to be a disaster. Beauty and the Beast is garbage. Aladdin is horrific. The Lion King actually made me furious. That last one was generally one of the worst movies ever made. Now it's Snow White's turn. And it feels like this one has more vitriol than usual. Every one of these gets flack, but this one feels like it has an even bigger target than usual. Some for unfair reasons, some people being racist and overall weird about Rachel Zegler. Oh, she can't be Latina. The original fairy tale said that her skin is as white as snow. How dare she say these things about Snow White that I literally made up. I don't know when y'all grown-up men became such fucking diehard defenders and fans of Snow White. But y'all are so fucking weird. But some of the vitriol was a little valid. The overall hostility towards these live-action remakes, which is fair. The fully CGI dwarves, the fact that the trailers look like shit. You know the drill. You know what Snow White is about. The queen is mean. She becomes a princess. Snow White gets trapped. Apple, dwarves, kissy while she's asleep. Don't worry about it. It's legal if they're in love. Happily ever after. And of the live-action Disney remakes, I suppose it's one of the lesser bad ones. I don't know. My expectations were rock bottom, and I wasn't mad leaving this movie. I think Mufasa is a much worse movie, for example. Mark Webb is the director, and he's the overall aesthetic of this movie is not very pleasing. It does have that very Hollywood thing where it looks very gray for the most part, and I get in some ways it's supposed to be the point. The kingdom is so gray because the queen is in charge and she's mean, but it just kind of looks ugly. And then when it does implement color in the forest and shit, there are some aesthetically pleasing moments, but for the most part it looks really flat, really fake. I think what made this movie not a disaster is that it actually feels like it has soul. It actually felt like there was some classic Disney magic involved. I think Mark Webb did something where, it felt like you were watching a Disney movie in a way, in a good way, not in the, current evil way. It felt like there was more of a purpose to it than kind of propping up nostalgia, hoping that people will clap when they hear the lines they know or the songs they remember. They do actually have some things that do work. They change up the third act completely. And I was a little interested in it at first. They actually do something really interesting. They kind of put the queen in this tyrannical footnotes, and they do something interesting with that, with this revolt idea, but then they kind of butcher it. It was really interesting at first the way Zegler does something to Gal Gadot, but yeah, it's very it worked at first, but then they kind of copped out. Oh, so while I'm here, I might as well talk about what I really hated about this movie, and that's Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot, for real, could be at least a contender for one of the worst actors in history. She's so stiff, even the way she fucking moves. It's it feels so weird. Her face just makes these weird things when she's doing acting or whatever she calls that. Her delivery is just laughable, and some might go, oh, she's being campy. It doesn't work. It's not funny. Well, it is, but not for the way she hoped. She genuinely, I've seen a bad performance, but this performance is so awful that it actually ruins the momentum of every scene she's in. I think part of the reason this movie doesn't work is because of Gal Gadot. I remember early on, very, very early on, she had a moment where she had she was monologuing and all that jazz, and again, just total shit show of a performance. And then the very next scene, Rachel Zegler was singing, and holy shit, what a tone shift. Rachel Zegler is truly one of those super talents, absolute movie star potential, every time I see her in a movie. Even Y2K and Shazam, which aren't good, she just has it. And despite all the complaints about her by fucking freaks of nature who, suck, she is ridiculously talented, and she is the reason this movie works when it does. She just has that charisma, and she has that princess energy to her that absolutely works. She deserves a fucking strongman trophy for how, much she carried this movie. Absolutely. Where it gets really bad is this movie meanders a lot. The movie kind of goes through the motions of the Snow White story that we know. When we get to the dwarves, who are fully CGI'd, it's pretty nightmare fuel. Like, they look real, but it's just, there's something so intrinsically off. Like, it's so nightmare fuelish. The dwarves aren't bad, they can be funny, they just look so fucking weird. But yeah, this movie kind of trudges along in an odd pace, like, in a way that just feels so stale. I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with how the story was told. And again, the soul exists in this movie. I just think that there's something so off about the pacing. It moves in a way that just doesn't fully work. Like, it feels like something is just off. Not to mention that there's a bunch of songs, like new original songs, because the original, a lot of the songs you know from the original are here, which isn't a lot, granted. But there are new songs, and they all suck. They're all a bunch of Dear Evan Hansen dog shit. Man, I don't like the way musicals are shot nowadays. There are so many interesting ways to treat musical numbers, and people are just like, what if we have dancers move fast and in large portions? I think it's something like the In the Heights moment at the beginning, the In the Heights song at the beginning of In the Heights. And the way that one was done makes sense. There's a lot more community involved, whereas in this movie it's just like, hey, look at how fast those dancers are dancing. On top of the fact that it looks very ugly. This movie just has no, like, energy to its musical numbers. A lot of them is just them walking around and talking and singing, I guess. The only moments that do work is because Rachel Zegler has like an unbelievable songbird like vocals. There will be moments in this movie, even like as flat as it looks, as much as like this movie goes on for way longer than it needs to be. There were moments where I was definitely like not like engaged, but like I was like somewhat enjoying myself. And then Gal Gadot shows up and everything's ruined, and it just kind of goes back to being this a bit of a fucking soul vacuum. I'm not saying Gal Gadot ruins the movie, although she does a little bit. But like if she was replaced with a different actress, like a more talented actress, I don't think the movie would be like a good movie. So yeah, there's been worse in the Disney live action remake string of horse shit, but make no mistake, this is another bad one. Yes, there is something interesting in the ending with this anti-tyranny thing, and Rachel Zegler is so insanely talented, but Gal Gadot genuinely sucks the life out of every scene she's in, and add on to that, horrible visuals and way too much meandering. The mere addition of a soul here puts it in a better position than most movies in this stupid fucking subgenre, but I still can't in good faith call this close to a good movie. It's not nearly as bad as I feared, but let's not get carried away here, and I'm gonna give Snow White 4 lifeless Gal Gadots out of 10. That is Snow White. It's not good, but you know, I think we all overreacted just a little bit. I mean, if you're one of those freaks who's like, yeah, Rachel Zegler, how dare she? Get a life, dude. She's fucking like, you're so weird. Alright, next we gotta do is Lilo and Stitch. Let's get that shit over with. Let's subscribe and share. Fuck.